The observation deck of the Galactic Council's diplomatic station hummed with the usual chatter of a dozen species. But today, all eyes were on the human. Lieutenant Mara Venn stood at attention before the Council's Ethics Committee, her uniform crisp despite the exhaustion etched into her face. Lieutenant Venn, Ambassador Kelthor's voice resonated through his translator, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. We have observed your unusual behavior with the Krevni cubs. You consistently feed them before consuming your own rations. The Council wishes to understand why. Mara's jaw tightened. The Krevni were apex predators from a death world that made Earth look like a vacation resort. Their cubs, if you could call meter-long, razor-clawed juveniles cubs, had been seized from a smuggling ring 3 weeks ago. As the station's elite security officer, she'd been assigned their care until proper arrangements could be made. With respect, Ambassador, they're children, Mara replied, her voice steady. They eat first. That's not unusual behavior. That's basic decency. A ripple of confusion passed through the assembled delegates. The Velthori representative, a being of pure crystalline structure, chimed like breaking glass. But Lieutenant, your species requires regular sustenance. We've calculated that you've been operating on 60% of your minimum caloric intake for 17 standard cycles. This is illogical. They're growing, Mara said simply. They need it more. What she didn't tell them was that the cubs had arrived malnourished, their ribs showing through patchy fur, their eyes dull with hunger and fear. She'd seen that look before, in refugee camps on the outer colonies, in the eyes of children who'd lost everything. It didn't matter if those eyes were human or belonged to creatures that could tear through reinforced steel. Lieutenant, this inquiry is over, Kelthor declared, clearly uncomfortable, but we strongly advise you to maintain proper nutrition. Your physiology, understood, sir. Mara saluted and turned on her heel, ignoring the whispers that followed her out. The cub's habitat was at the far end of Section 7, isolated from the main population. Mara entered the security code and stepped through the airlock. Immediately, 3 massive shapes bounded toward her. Well, bounded might have been generous. They moved with more coordination than when she'd first arrived, but Reiner, the eldest, still favored his left front leg where the smugglers had broken it. They didn't attack. They never had. Not after that first night when she'd sat outside their cage, speaking softly, offering food through the bars until they'd cautiously approached. Now they greeted her with chirps and rumbles that their translator implant rendered as excitement and affection. Hey, troublemakers, Mara smiled, pulling out the nutrient packs from her utility belt. Dinner time. She tossed the packs to each cub, watching them tear into the food with enthusiasm that made her heart ache. They were starting to fill out, their coats growing glossy, their movements stronger. Worth it, she thought, even as her stomach cramped with hunger. Reiner finished first and patted over his massive head, already the size of her torso, nudging her hand. His translator crackled. Mara, friend. You eat now? Already did, buddy, she lied, scratching behind his ear where he liked it. I'm good. His golden eyes studied her with an intelligence that still surprised her. The Galactic Council classified the Krevni as semi-sentient at best, barely above animals. They were wrong. She'd seen it in how they communicated, how they learned, how they grieved for their lost parents. Mara, friend smells. Wrong, Reiner insisted, his nose twitching. Just tired. Been a long day. She stayed another hour, running them through exercises, checking Reiner's healing leg, making sure their environment was enriched. When she finally left, her vision was swimming slightly, and she had to steady herself against the wall. The corridor stretched impossibly long before her. Just need to make it to my quarters, she thought. Just a little further. She didn't make it. Mara woke to the sound of alarms and the weight of something massive on her chest. Her eyes focused slowly on Reiner's face inches from her own, his breath hot and smelling of meat. Behind him, his siblings were making distressed noises, their claws scraping against the deck plating. Lieutenant Venn, someone was shouting. Medical staff, security. The cubs must have triggered the emergency. Protocols when they... Wait, the cubs were outside their habitat. They broke through the secondary airlock. A security officer was saying, weapon raised. We need to tranquilize... No. Mara's voice came out as a rasp, but it was enough. They're protecting me. Reiner rumbled, his body positioned over hers like a shield, his siblings flanking them both. In his mouth, held carefully between teeth that could snap bone, was a ration pack, her ration pack taken from her belt. "Mara friend needs food," Reiner's translator stated. "Mara friend always gives food. Now Reiner gives food." The medical officer's scanner beeped frantically. "Lieutenant, you're severely malnourished. Your blood sugar is dangerously low. How long have you been—" The officer's eyes widened with understanding, looking from Mara to the cubs and back again. Kelthor arrived moments later, his diplomatic calm shattered. "Explain this, Lieutenant. Explain how these mindless beasts not only escaped their containment, but actively came to your aid." Mara pushed herself up slowly, Reiner supporting her with his bulk. "They're not mindless, Ambassador. They're just young. And they understand something that apparently needs explaining. You take care of family, even if it costs you." "Family?" The word seemed to physically pain the ambassador. "Lieutenant, they are mine," Mara cut him off, her voice gaining strength. "They're mine to protect. And apparently, I'm theirs." Reiner pushed the ration pack toward her with his nose, chirping insistently. His siblings echoed the sound, a chorus of concern. Mara took the pack with shaking hands and opened it, taking a bite. The cubs' agitation immediately decreased, their postures relaxing. The medical officer knelt beside her, beginning treatment. "With respect, Ambassador, I think the evidence speaks for itself. The Krevni displayed problem-solving, empathy, and self-sacrifice. They somehow understood she was starving herself for them, and they responded by attempting to provide for her. That's not semi-sentience. That's proof of sapience." Kelthor's eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of deep thought. Finally he spoke. "Lieutenant Venn, once you've recovered, we will need to discuss revised classifications for the Krevni species, and appropriate custody arrangements for these three in particular." Mara looked at Reiner, at the way he stayed close, protective and concerned. At his siblings, who'd followed him through reinforced doors to save her. "There's only one appropriate arrangement, Ambassador. These cubs stay with me. Impossible. Humans cannot." "Humans can," Mara interrupted, scratching Reiner's chin. "That's kind of our thing. We find a way. We make it work. And we never ever abandon family." Reiner rumbled contentedly, the sound echoed by his siblings, and in that moment, surrounded by mindless predators who'd proven more compassionate than half the supposedly civilized species in the galaxy, Mara knew she'd made the right choice, because that's what humans did. They loved fiercely, protected relentlessly, and proved that family wasn't about species or logic or what the Council deemed appropriate. Family was about who showed up when you fell, and who made damn sure you got back up again.